be the same. There was the rise of a new dawn as Dr. Patrice Motsepe assumed his position as CAF president, leading African football to a new frontier.
We have to compete at the highest level in the world and do well, and build a partnership with the private sector that makes them appreciate the huge benefit to their businesses and the benefits to them of participating with us.
First on the agenda for CAF's newly elected president was to strengthen powerful partnerships and expand on collaborations. When CAF President Dr. Motsepe took to the helm of African football 15 months ago in Rabat, Morocco, he became the 8th CAF president, ushering in a new era for the federation. This leader vowed to prioritize action over promises, bent on traversing all 4 corners of the continent to harness support and bring on board stakeholders for the betterment of the game.
There is no African football. There is no African football. There is no CAF if football in every country in Africa doesn't grow and develop.
He continues to engage and extensively consult with the football family in Africa and beyond the continent. Better football in Africa starts with better football in member associations, and this is an equation that Dr. Motsepe intrinsically understands. His journey into boardrooms to persuade governments to bring in private partners and sponsors in each member association for growth, benefit, and the betterment of the local game, which then transcends the continent's most loved sport.
If you look at sports teams, clubs, whatever, from football to any other sport, builds on a number of things. It's about leadership. You have to have leaders. You have to have a vision.
The scope of broadcasting and media rights and how member associations generate revenue from matches is fast changing. Under President Motsepe's watch, broadcasting of matches has seen an increase in revenue and in coverage due to his approach of doing business innovatively. Along with the list of new partners and sponsors that have joined hands with CAF, the steps in the President's action plan is falling together like puzzle pieces. The juggernaut of African football's continental body has only but started changing the landscape of football on the continent, driven by faith, family, and his love for football.
We also fully understand that even though the primary focus is football, and football is what we are immensely passionate about, today we are in the country of Julius Nyerere, and we fully understand the critical role that football plays in the development and growth of the living conditions of our people, provide employment, create investment, and also encourage people in every country. When I was in Nigeria, we had a meeting with President Buhari, and the message I got was, when the national team of Nigeria plays, all of the people in Nigeria who speak, and there are many, many different languages, I think it's more than 200. When the national team plays, they're all united. They speak one language, the language of the Super Eagles, the language of the national team, the language of Nigerian football. When the national team of Nigeria plays, there's the issue of you belong to one religion, I belong to another religion, you belong to one tribe, I belong to one tribe, you belong to one race, I belong to another race, you speak a different language than I do. Football brings the people in Nigeria, and the same applies in every country. And the same principle applies to football globally. Football in Europe, football in Africa, football in South America, football in Asia. And that's why the World Cup that's taking place in Qatar is the epitome of the reflection of football bringing people together. And I spoke about Nigeria when I went to Cote d'Ivoire. I had the same thing. When the national team plays in Cote d'Ivoire, all of the people of Cote d'Ivoire are united. So CAF is about football, we are about football, and the commitment of investing in the youth, the commitment of schools football, the commitment of building academies in every country, and encouraging amateur football, encouraging professional football, to invest in infrastructure, to invest in developing football amongst young boys and young girls, and also developing amateur football, and developing professional football, and making sure that the national team espouses, displays the pride of the people of every country, but also the 5 nations that will be going to Qatar: Senegal, Ghana, Morocco, Tunisia, Cameroon. They represent all of us. They are the pride of Africa, and we are confident that they will do well. Can we clap hands for them, please? So if you look at, there's a document that's in your pack, so I won't repeat the issues that are in that document. The document is entitled Message from the President. You can look at it. It talks about the good work that has taken place. It also talks about the challenges, and it talks about some of the plans over the next 2 to 3 years. And we are confident. There are challenges. We've inherited problems in the past, and the past is the past. The important thing is there's a new leadership, and we have to proceed and make progress. And we are confident that particularly starting towards the end of next year and 2 to 3 years from now, the initiatives and the measures and the steps that we've implemented will produce results. One key issue I need to overemphasize: the success of African football is inextricably intertwined. The success of African football depends on the development and growth of football in each and every one of our 54 member nations, member associations, and countries on the African continent. And that's why there's a huge focus. There's a huge focus to make sure that in each and every one of the 54 nations. And this is partly why you'll see that over the last 16 months, I've visited about 30 countries and had meetings with about 25 heads of state to emphasize the importance in those countries and to encourage those governments and those heads of state to support football. And I must tell you, I'm very proud, because in many of the countries you can see the results. And we had the AFCON Women's Championship in Morocco a few weeks ago, and you saw the display of the growth and success of African women. I was told that the women are going to win the World Cup sooner than the men. And I want to encourage the women to do that, and at the same time encourage the men to do that. Can we clap hands for the African women and the development of their football on the continent? One of the key issues is we will be talking about the AFCON, the African Super League that we will be launching soon after this meeting. So when this meeting has ended, we're going to ask you to just outside have a few drinks for about 20 minutes whilst we turn around this room and launch the African Super League. It's a soft launch. There'll be a major launch later throughout the year. And I personally want to thank our brother for his commitment and the advice and guidance in this major initiative, because the African Super League is a very important initiative. It's a very important step, and I'll talk more about it, and we'll talk more about it when we launch. But what is key for us is one of the major problems in Africa is finance, it's money. Quite apart from the fact that our stadiums in many African countries and our infrastructure. We've got to work on that, and that's what I said. We need the governments to help us. You cannot have this situation where there's about 20 countries that don't play, national teams, they don't play in their countries because the stadiums in those countries are not up to the FIFA and CAF standards. So it's an emergency. And we are making progress in many countries, but the commitment to make sure that in every African country we will have a stadium that's on the CAF and FIFA levels and develop football in that country. My job has to be that football takes place, the national team and the clubs in every one of the 54 countries that participates in the CAF competitions, they play their football in their country and not go elsewhere and play their football in another country. So we're making good progress, and I want to thank those countries that really over the years have assisted, provided resources, and also made their stadiums available. I know that our brother Fauzi, on behalf of Morocco, has done excellent work. I know that Denis Jordan as well has really in the Kosafa area, and our Prime Minister was talking about the good work that Tanzania has been doing to host some of our neighboring nations that have got challenges in relation to the infrastructure in their countries. Now, going back to the finance, when I speak to many of the presidents, and once more, the money that FIFA has made available to all of our 54 nations as part of the FIFA Forward, and the huge progress and the huge changes that money has made is self-explanatory, and it's visible for all of us to see. When I went to Ethiopia and I saw the money that FIFA has donated and how that money has been used to change football in Ethiopia. When I visited Tanzania about a year ago, and my brother Wallace was taking me around to show me what he has done with the money that he's received from FIFA. When I went to South Sudan, when I went to, the list goes on. So we want to thank FIFA for the contributions they make, but part of the Super League is we want to give every single one of the 54 nations, we want to give every single one of the 54 African nations $1 million every year in terms of the plans that we have for the African Super League. Use that money to develop football in each of our countries and in each of our nations. So we'll talk about that later. The second thing that we also want is we want to use $50 million from the African Super League to use some of that money to make our competitions competitive. I mean, our competition, the prize money of our competitions must be high. Make it exciting. And also use some of the money to pay the players, to pay the staff, to pay the administrators. Many of the club owners tell me that when they play in these competitions, in the CAF Champions League or in the CAF Confederations Cup, they have to spend a lot of money on transport, on logistics. And what we are planning to do in the African Super League is to give each and every one of the 24 clubs that will participate in the initial, when the African Super League starts, give them $2.5 million. And the $2.5 million must be used to buy players, but also used to assist with the transport. But we'll talk about those issues later. The other key issues, we are raising $100 million. We want the African Champions League to have prize money of $100 million. And we are confident that that will make a huge contribution to improving the quality and the standard of African football, because you've got to win on the field of play. We've got to show the rest of the world that in that 90 minutes on the pitch, playing football, we can win and be successful and make sure that African football is respected like football worldwide. Two quick remarks is governance, ethics, auditing, best practices, to make sure that what is happening, the manner in which contracts and agreements are concluded with sponsors, the manner in which the accounts, the financing of CAF is being conducted, is in line with global best practices in relation to accounting, auditing. But everything we do, not just in CAF, but also everything we do in every one of our 54 member associations must be in line with governance, must be in line with auditing, must be in line with ethics, and must be in line with managerial and administrative global best practice. And I'm very proud that good progress has been made. And this is one of the emergency measures we introduced. One of the things we did immediately was we initiated the PricewaterhouseCoopers governance report. Veron Musenga Omba, our General Secretary, did very, very good work in that regard. And what we wanted to do was, we want CAF to be run in the same manner, the same principles, the same standards, the same ethics, the same governance, like the most successful confederations in the world. And we've made good progress. And that